The best video from the Ukrainian side of this conflict comes from the Azov Battalion. They understand the value of good PR and have been producing slick videos for years. They film themselves blowing up Russian tanks and generally tearing up the battlefield. Their biggest trophy so far is reportedly a Russian general, the fourth to be killed since Russia's attack began on February the 24th. Ukraine's military are proud to use their video as evidence of how well they're doing against a much larger enemy. Given the threat from the Russians, it's perhaps understandable Ukraine welcomes the Azov Battalion's help. But still, this is unique in Europe. No other country on the continent has a far-right unit like this. Its founder is Andrei Beletsky, a 42-year-old native Russian speaker who was born in Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine, near the border where most people speak Russian. It's Ukraine's second city and has now been badly damaged by Russian bombers. He identifies not as a neo-Nazi, but as a Ukrainian ultra-nationalist. In an interview in 2010, he said Ukraine's national purpose was to lead the white races of the world in a final crusade against the Semite-led Untermenschen. He formed the Azov Battalion in early 2014, enlisting extreme football hooligans or ultras to his group, which was originally called Sect 82. It was a tumultuous time for Ukraine. There were huge protests against the pro-Russian president Viktor Yanukovych, who was pushed out of office, and then pro-Russian separatists rising up in the east. When the separatists in the Donbass region declared their independence from Ukraine in March 2014, it was the Azov Battalion which went to fight them. The Ukrainian military was unwilling to do so. The fighting centered around Mariupol, and they've been stationed there ever since. Ukraine's new pro-Western president at the time, Petro Poroshenko, praised them, calling them Ukraine's best warriors. But rights organizations, including Human Rights Watch, reported credible allegations of torture and other egregious abuses by Azov and other volunteer units. The UN report also detailed how Azov soldiers had allegedly raped and tortured civilians. At that time, they enjoyed the backing of Ukraine's interior minister, who recognized that government forces were too weak to fight the separatists. These forces were funded by a number of Ukrainian oligarchs, some of whom were Jewish, but put aside their usual fears about the far right to ensure the sovereignty of Ukraine's heavily industrialized southeast. As the Azov Battalion grew, it changed its name to the Azov Regiment, and now it's known as the Azov Special Operations Detachment. It was officially incorporated into the Ukrainian National Guard in late 2014. Today, the Azov Battalion, it's still most often referred to that way, is made up of around 1,000 fighters. Some experts believe its numbers may have grown since Russia attacked last month. In 2015, a battalion spokesman admitted that between 10 and 20% of its members were neo-Nazis or white supremacists. That may not be a lot of people in a country of over 40 million, but some Ukraine analysts say their power is also behind the scenes, their ability to influence and threaten government officials. For example, when the current president, Volodymyr Zelensky, visited them on the front line in the east in 2019, he asked them to de-escalate the fighting. And Beletsky not only refused, but threatened to bring more fighters to the area, leaving the president exasperated.
Мне 42. Я ж не лох. Я тебе пришел и сказал, оружие убери, а ты меня не переводи на акции. Про дочь. Мы с вами уже поговорили, вы потом... Я не поговорил с тобой, я хотел увидеть в глазах понимания. А увидел парня, который решил, что перед ним какой-то лопух стоит, и переводишь меня на другую тему.
Judging by recent elections, Ukraine as a whole appears to have little time for the Azov Battalion's broader ideology. Beletsky was elected as an independent candidate to parliament in 2014 off the back of Azov's performance in Mariupol, but he failed to win another term in 2019. In fact, Azov's political party, the National Corps, combined with all the other far-right parties in Ukraine, only won about 2% of the vote that year and didn't win a single seat in parliament. Ukrainians just don't have the same priorities as the Azov Battalion, even if they do celebrate their victories against the Russians. Journalists and experts in the West have been warning for years that the far right poses a threat to Ukraine's democracy. But when Vladimir Putin used it as a justification to attack, They all agreed that this was just a pretext for violence and that nothing justifies the killing and destruction now being visited on Ukraine.
Well, thanks for watching our program. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family, and even subscribe.